Welcome, Cards Nation, to our second podcast episode, reporting from Miami, Florida for the 2024 Cards World Showcase. We have a much busier match day today, 5 games compared to yesterday's 3.
Absolutely, Kat. We have the first 4 games of the North American group, as well as Antarctica's first game, as they weren't able to compete yesterday due to the uncertainty of Olaf's status concerning the flu.
Yes, and we have confirmed that Olaf has not quite recovered in time for the first game and will miss Antarctica's debut match today against Iceland, who are looking to continue their strong showing, putting up a fight against Arctic favourites Norway and beating Finland with ease.
Yes, and we will go ahead and get to that game right away, preceding the 4 North American games, which we will preview shortly. Time to introduce, we have some new music for the game summary. Play that.
Not rapping. Antarctica opened their 2024 World Showcase campaign with a bang as they pulled a queen on the very first pull of the tournament. But it instantly came back to bite them when the queen just happened to be the randomly generated card for a fight at the bottom of their deck.
Wow, what are the chances? That was a continuing problem for the Antarctics, as they only won 1 out of 4 fights in the game. And to add misery, they were only able to dump 1 out of 3, despite pulling that queen card twice. A new record so far this tournament.
But it won't matter as Eli picks up his first win as a coach, and Iceland finish off their group stage with 6 points.
Yes, that will be Iceland's final game in the group stage, but likely not their final game at the tournament after a strong 2-1 showing. Another interesting stat for this game, the longest game of this tournament so far, not necessarily by time duration, we don't measure that, but they did play 10 pools, the most so far, as every other game has had just 9.
Interesting. Well, Iceland's group stage concludes with 6 points and a +3 marble differential, putting them in first, but who knows whether that will stay based on Norway's result tomorrow, as they still have a game to play, and so too every other team in the Arctic group except for Iceland.
Yes, Norway will have an interesting game against Antarctica, who will be fully warmed up by the time those two face off, following the Velcro brothers game against a struggling Finland.
Yes, so Antarctica's 2 games, Finland and then Norway. We now bring to you the preseason notes from the North American group. As of now, Canada are the overall favourites to top the group, showing strength in the preseason. The twins Lily and Lucy both impressing throughout the solo season as well. And finally, they have a dad literally named Domino. I mean, how could it go wrong?
Definitely. To add, Florida is a young and interesting team, and Brutus and Major have not had the opportunity to show off their skills since Karts' very first games. If you remember, they were among the first players they conducted experiments with in order to test the sport. Isn't that crazy?
Absolutely. And now we are doing our first international tournament. See how far the sport has come. Absolutely. Despite this, they did get to compete in the preseason and continued promising form up to today. So we will see how they do.
It's about time we get into the summary of our first 4 games in the Northern Americas. Karts, take it away for us. Florida versus the United States.
DJ Blue Dog. Shout out to Blue Dog, our DJ, who will be controlling the music from now on. This was by far our most interesting game of the tournament, our very first in Miami FLA, as the home team take on the home country in the USA. The game was a story of dumping for the Floridians, as they flushed 5 out of 8 and scored every one of their 3 dumps, from the 6, 8, and 9. Arguably some mid-range dumps in there, if you know what I mean.
Of course, practice makes perfect.
However, on the USA side, they just kept flushing and were only able to lose 1 marble on a fight that ended in a cat-in-the-hat pull for them. But it did not quite match Florida's 2 cat-in-the-hat pulls that the team collected by the end of this one. Despite the United States' efforts making this an 8-round game, the game ended as by far our biggest win of the tournament so far. A 5-0 sweep by the Gators. How disgraceful. Yes, the first time a sweep has happened so far this tournament. Florida off to a flying start
which no one really expected, I must say.
Yes, no one was betting against the Crocodiles, but I can tell you, no one was betting for them to sweep the third largest country in the world. Unbelievable.
No more summarizing to do for that game. The score tells the story. DJ. Our next game, Florida again, this time taking on a fellow United States in California, represented by Sally and Red, both from California. Florida once again off to a perfect start as they dump a 2 and, believe it or not, score on their third attempt. It's quite the shot. Might be the first score from 2 this tournament. Snake eyes, I must say.
Yes, I do believe it was the first score from Snake Eyes, but California is not out of it yet. They pull a cat in the hat during a fight, and all of a sudden they have the lead 5-4. Unfortunately, Coach Eli then tried to adjust his jumping technique, but absolutely failed, missing from the 7. Oh boy. We are tied back up at 5. No, 4.
No, 4, idiot. And it was neck and neck all the way till Florida was up 2-3 near the end of the game, and California missed the jump from the 9 by less than a centimeter, I tell you. That's right. They had to measure it with the old slide the marble to the wall trick, and concluded that Florida would get Thiago ball. Florida then wins it on their third attempt on a jump from 10 as they continue their undefeated record, winning by a score of +3, bringing their marble differential to +8, Thiago, +8, by far the highest at the tournament.
Well, dumps continue to be the strong suit for Coach Abby, going 3 for 3 on dumps in this matchup, keeping their dump average 100%. That's right. Florida has not missed a dump at this tournament so far through 2 games.
That is pretty amazing. Wow. It is also important to note there was only one fight in this game, and it was won by actually California, but it didn't end up mattering since Florida ended up winning in 7 rounds, which is the new shortest game of the tournament so far. Thank you, DJ. Penultimate game here. We have 2 more, including this one. Canada and USA face off now. Abby, the coach, taking control of Canada, of course. This was, by far, Coach Eli and the United States' best game at the tournament so far. A lot of dumping in this one. Coach Eli and the USA flushed none of their first 4 pulls and ended up scoring 3 out of 4 dumps from the 7, 6, and 10. A big improvement for the United States from last game, who missed both from the 7 and 9. Wow. What an improvement.
Yes, there was not a fight until the 5th round as USA flushes for the first time this game. Canada ended up winning that fight, bringing the score to 2-2, a close game. Then they fought again, but USA won that one, bringing their score to Thiago ball +1. Then it happened. Abby's very first major dumping mistake, as she misses from the 8 to lose the game, -2. As USA relieved the worries from getting swept by Florida, and Canada starts off not very strong, I must say.
Well, that was just Canada's first game, so there's no reason to completely worry for the fans yet. But I must say it's very interesting that the USA dumped their first 4 pulls and then flushed the next 3. Yeah, a 7-round game again, I believe. Just a strong dumping game for Eli, really relieving whatever happened last game. What was it?
Yeah, I believe both teams went 1 for 2 in fights, and ultimately the USA's 3 for 4 on dumps was the deciding statistic. The average this game, 750, a much better average than 333, which they got in their first game, with even some higher rolls. So clearly Eli has adopted a slightly new dumping technique that is working much better. We will move into our final game now. Canada trying to relieve themselves after that loss, facing California.
Our final game of the day. This was our most interesting game coming in, a pretty important one, as both of these teams, Canada and California, both failed to pick up a win in their first game each. California losing to Florida, then Canada to the United States last game.
Right, so someone will have their first win of the tournament after this one. Let's get into it. This was our most tightly contested match so far today. Again, not a lot of fighting in this one. When one team flushed, the other didn't, and vice versa.
California went 1 for 3 on dumps, Canada going 2 for 4, and ultimately it came down to a Thiago ball fight, where Canada took their first W on a cat in the hat that will close our first match day.
Finally, folks, we have evened out the group stage, at least for the most part. Every team has played 2 games in both groups, except for Iceland, who have actually completed their group stage, as well as Antarctica, who have 2 games left. Both will be played tomorrow in an exciting final match day, Kat.
Yes, we will be releasing a non-summary podcast episode. You know, not alluding to a specific match day, just previewing what could happen on the match day of July 3rd, match day 3, where the 2 groups will finalize their order and confirm who will be moving on to the knockout stages and who will be eliminated. Good night, everyone, and we will see on match day 3. Good one. Oh, thanks, DJ. Off the outro.